Hi guys, welcome back to another mini series video. So this time I wanted to bring you something again that's a little bit different. So I've brought you breathing techniques, and now I want to bring you a technique for just helping with an anxious or stressful moment. So I really hope you enjoy this one, and let's get started. So anxiety, I can probably guess that all of us have suffered from a bit of anxiety at some stage in our lives. Now, anxiety isn't a bad thing. Having a bit of anxious excitement can definitely be good. Sometimes it means that you're really enjoying something, or you love something, or you care about something. So that's really important. But it's when anxiety takes over and cripples you with not being able to mentally or physically do things. And that's really, really challenging. I don't know if you can think of a situation where maybe personally you've become so anxious before something. Maybe you're presenting for the first time, you're doing a video for the first time, maybe you're going to a job interview, and your anxiety gets the better of you, and it actually starts to affect the way you can physically walk and move. Maybe you start to shake, you probably start to close down with the body as well, become a bit more protective in your posture, and it can even affect things like your speech and having sort of word jumble going on and forgetfulness. So it can really be, as I said, quite crippling, quite limiting ultimately. And that's when I feel like these anxiety techniques have really helped support me. So I wanted to share them with you, and they're really, really simple, really easy to do, and also quite discreet. So we've got to go back a little bit to the science behind anxiety and what it is, but you may have heard of something called fight and flight response. So to take it back to like cave people a stage in years, they talk about, if you were being chased by some sort of creature or tiger and you knew that your life was at risk, you would go into kind of a state of fight and flight. Now this state will ultimately start to close down areas of your body that it doesn't need right now. So things like digestion. I don't need to digest my lunch, I need to just get away from this. It will shut down certain parts of the body and actually help to bring more power and energy into the body. So it's really, really important to kind of acknowledge that when you go into a state of flight and fight response, it is probably that state of anxiety, or that's what you sort of know it as. But that is what it's doing to your body. It's shutting off certain things for the time being because it doesn't need them right now. It doesn't need its immunity. It doesn't need its digestion. What it needs power and energy to get you through this situation. You're telling the body that you're scared and you're afraid. And on a sort of primitive level, this is what it's doing. It's going to send more energy to your body. So bit of an odd one. If you think about an interview situation, you probably don't need much power and energy coming to your muscles because, well, depending on your interview, you possibly aren't going to be doing much physical activity. And that's why some people talk about when they get into situations, they want to run away. And that is probably because we get all this additional energy running through our body, and naturally we want to just run. So first things first, if you're in that situation, you're starting to feel anxious, my top thing would be, you could go for a walk, you could go for a stroll and use up some of that energy. Obviously, in certain situations, if you've suddenly been thrown into this situation of anxiety or stress, you may not be able to do that. So if you can't, I want to give you a couple of techniques that you can do that are going to help to really reduce that anxiousness. So technique number one, and I'm going to give you two techniques that you can use, and you can use them together. Obviously, like I said, you could go for a walk. If you want to, you could even go for a run. But probably that's not going to be the most discreet if you are just about to do an interview. So instead, what you can do is you can use up that energy through a really clever technique. which is tensing and releasing the powerful leg muscles, so the powerful thigh muscles that would take you running away in that flight and fight response. And you can tense and release them on the spot, and that will start to use up some of that energy that has been released with your anxious state. So literally, to do that, I'll come a little closer to the camera so maybe you can even see it. You're literally going to tighten and release the thighs. Now, the way I find is the easiest way of doing this is kind of pressing my foot down and almost starting to lift my knee up so that I'm just tensing the thigh muscles. And sometimes my leg moves a little bit with that. Now, if someone knows that you're a little bit anxious, they're not going to be too alarmed if they see a little tiny bit of movement through the legs. So literally taking both the legs, pressing through the feet, lifting the knees up, squeezing into the thighs, maybe even into the glutes a little bit. And you could even do that seated. Again, you just press through the ground and just tighten and release the thighs. So fairly discreet. Even if you're a little bit nervous, you might be a little bit twitchy and a little bit shaky. So if you're just tightening and releasing the thighs, probably not going to be noticed too much by anyone around you. The second thing I would definitely say to make sure you're doing is breathing. Now, obviously you breathe unconsciously the whole time. You're always breathing. However, really breathing well and full is going to support you, and at breathing consciously. So when you get into that anxious state, start with tightening and releasing the thighs, but also incorporate a little bit of breathing. So this can be really, really, really discreet. Again, doesn't have to be something that's really noticeable. So you could we want to be breathing into the belly, and you're not just taking a nice big breath into the belly and breathing out, drawing the belly back in. And maybe you want to tighten and release the thighs with your inhale and exhale as well, so you can incorporate the two things together. Now, the reason I talk about breathing into the belly and expanding the belly and then breathing back out, drawing the belly in. Now, check out my other mini series on breathing because I'll talk a lot more in detail about this. But ultimately, it helps to calm you down. It massages an area, your diaphragm, that moves down as you take a nice big breath in. Actually massages your vagus nerve, and your vagus nerve is linked in with your systems within your body that are affected when you are anxious, and it can actually help to calm you down by massaging that vagus nerve. The only way to massage that vagus nerve ultimately is to take some nice big breaths. So don't be breathing into the chest, you want to be breathing really into the belly, and you could even bring the hands down onto the belly and feel that movement coming in and out. So as you breathe in, expand, create space for that air, that diaphragm will move down. Breathe out, draw the belly back in. And you could connect that movement with your thighs as well. So two very simple, easy and discreet ways of tackling anxiety or anxious and stressful moments. Something that you could do even while sitting in an interview or maybe waiting for the interview, or if you're about to do your driving test or whatever it may be in life that's big and scary right now and is causing you this anxiety, or you've just had a stressful moment at work. This could be a technique that you use just for a few minutes, just to help calm yourself down, and you'll start to feel your body relaxing a little bit and that anxiety shifting away. Now, it might not take away all of the anxious state and that anxiety and stress, and that's fine. A little bit of anxiousness can actually help you and support you in those situations, but we want to get it past that point where it starts to be debilitating and limiting, and rather keep it just to a low level, which can be helpful and supportive. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if it's helpful and you use the techniques, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care, guys. Bye.